Hello, welcome to the first ever video on my channel. And you might be thinking, oh, that's not true. He has all these other videos of music and stuff. You're right. But by first video, I mean first personal video. I wanted to use this video to kind of help people get to know me outside of my music and what I'm trying to build as my artistry. And so that's what this video is. I wanted to go over why I love electronic music. And I also think this would be kind of a good kicking off starting point for this channel. And who knows, maybe we can get other people on to see sort of what they love to talk about, what their passions are, and maybe this can be the start of a series. You know, why I love blank and blank, or it's a working title, but I think that would be cool to hear about other people's passions. It's something that I love to do, is just hear people be excited about something. And so that's what we're going to do. And what better way to kick it off than why I love electronic music. So let's start from the beginning. When I was just a wee lad, we'll say right around middle school, I didn't exactly have the sort of inclination to find my own interests, but one of the first things I remember really enjoying when it comes to music was electronic music. And this was in the early days, the 2010s era of the rise of dubstep. So I was listening to, Skrillex, I was listening to deadmau5, and then when it came to other sort of genres in the EDM scene, I was listening to a lot of Avicii. I was listening to, the big boys, the mainstream of David Guetta, Martin Garrix, Animals was huge at that time. And that was sort of the first time I had ever really known or gotten into that sort of genre. And it is funny thinking back to that time. Even now on my iPhone, I have songs that I bought with, the iTunes credit. Who remembers iTunes? Buying songs on there. I bought Bangarang by Skrillex. I have the few deadmau5 songs on there. And that was my first little taste of electronic music. And so years go by. I kind of, stopped listening to the genre for a bit, post 2014, kind of get into my edgy, middle schooler, high schooler phase of my life, early high school, got into rap music and all kinds of other things, and I kind of forgot about electronic music, kind of pushed it away, wasn't too into it. But if there's somebody in my life that kept me close to it, it was my older sister. Now she is 3 years older than me, and so when I entered high school, she was entering college. And not only was she entering college, but she was entering her rave phase, one may call it. And she was going to tons of raves all over the country, listening to the music. She told me that one of her first raves she went to, she saw Marshmello open, which is really cool to think about during that time, 2015. And so she was really into it when I wasn't. And luckily for me, that kept that connection there for me. So we fast forward to 2019. I go to my first rave with her and her friends. We go to Global 2019 here in Colorado, and it was a blast. And still at that time, being 19, fresh out of high school, entering college, I wasn't really too focused on, the arts, music, or anything like that. I was mostly just focused on school. Now we enter college, and I'm kind of figuring it out. At this time, and I think growing up in general, I was very much about school. And it had never even occurred to me to sort of, dabble in the arts, one might say. I never was an arts guy. I always said I was bad at drawing, painting, and I really didn't know exactly what the arts was. Now I know that the arts isn't just drawing and painting and literally making art, You can make art through sound, you can make art through theater, music, it's all art. And so I just kept going through school, trying to get my business degree. And as I kind of moved forward through my semesters, the years in college, I, through that entire time, figured once I graduated college that I would have everything figured out. And so I just kept grinding. I had a lot of fun in college. I don't regret it in the slightest, but there is that part of me that wishes I would have gotten into this sooner than I did, but we'll save that for a little bit further down. I end up graduating. I get my bachelor's and I get my graduate degree in business. And I get there, and all of a sudden that success that I thought would be there, that all-knowing, feeling that I had that I would figure it out once I had my degree, was no longer there. I found myself postgraduate still not knowing exactly what I was doing or what I wanted to do with my life, still figuring myself out, who I was. And so we entered now this new phase in my life where I feel lost. And it's okay to sort of feel lost. It's okay to go through those times, even though at the time I didn't know that. And now we enter sort of the beginning of this. How did I get into electronic music? Well, I started getting back into the genre right around that same time of post-college. And even in college as well, I had a few friends that were into the genre as well. So 2021 came, my second rave, and it was global again. And this time I had gone with this group of guys that was sort of into the genre, but sort of just in passing. And they were, they had the sort of frat bro type of vibe. But they're great. Love those guys. It was an awesome time. So I kind of got a little taste of it there. Kind of slowly getting that little taste of it. And post that rave is when I started to really listen to the genre again. So we fast forward a little bit to 2022. And at this time, this is when I truly felt lost. I had moved away from home. I was living in a new city with my friends, and I had a job lined up finally after a year of looking with my finance degree, as an accounting tech. And even though that was great for income, I still found myself not really wanting to do that job, not really wanting to do anything with business. And again, even though I don't regret my degree, I'm very proud of what I've been able to do when it comes to my education, especially considering how proud I know I've made my parents with that degree. I was not feeling it. And so that was the first time I decided to start looking elsewhere. And luckily, at this exact same time, an epiphany sort of hit me. I said, man, I love electronic music. I love, producing. That question finally came into my head of, can I do this? Can I DJ? We'd gone out to the bars. I just turned 21 the year before, so I was just getting into going out and seeing all these DJs, producers, and everything in between, and being up on those stages and playing the music that the people love, playing into the crowds. And I asked myself, could I do this? And so, the end of 2022, November, December, I said, let me try. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, as you can imagine, but I bought my first DJ board, the Sticks, and I started messing around there. I started looking into how you could DJ at the bars in my city, how I can get into it. I started coming up with a name for myself, Santason, as, some of you may know me by, but not many. And really looking into how I can get into electronic music. And eventually I started learning how to produce. I spent pretty much all of 2023 learning how to produce, making my first ever tracks and really digging deep into this, kind of leading up to where I am now. And what really solidified my love for electronic music wasn't just this idea that I could be up there on stage and be a part of this community in such a big way. It really has to do with how the music made me feel. And I think we can all confuse delusion with ambition and vice versa, but I think what really solidified my love for electronic music was when I went to my third rave. And that rave was EDC in 2024. We go there. At this time, I'm getting really into the likes of Fred again. You know, he's started being really big in 2023, 2024. And even though I was disappointed he wasn't on the list, I was still very happy and really excited to see other artists that were at EDC. You know, Dioro, we had Martin Garrix, David Guetta, the OGs that I was listening to 10 years earlier, and a lot of the new guys as well. And it just so happens that Fred again is a surprise guest, and I had an inclination because it was announced that the surprise guest was coming on after Fortet, that it could be Fred again. And I'll never forget standing way in the back of this huge crowd at EDC and hearing the intro to one of his songs and knowing that the artist that at that time was my favorite artist is coming out by surprise. And it was truly euphoric. Happy tears came out, and it's hard to explain exactly how electronic music makes me feel. Especially at that time, it's when you connect with any sort of song, any sort of genre of music, you get this connection where you just realize that you cannot live without it. And when I heard him play my favorite song by him, Danielle, Smile on My Face, that's when I realized this was it. That's when I realized that I cannot see a future without me being up on that stage, without me being able to create what all these electronic artists have been able to create, the community, the fans they've been able to be a part of and create. I want to be a part of that. That's when I really, truly realized that this was my love, my passion. And I kind of always use the saying that it's very similar to falling in love with the person, you know. When I realized that this is what I wanted to do with my life, be a producer, be a part of the rave community and make electronic music, it just happened. I, again, was very lost, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and it just hit me. It literally just hits you. That love for whatever it may be, a person, a passion, it just happens. And outside of just it being my passion and what I want to be my career, I think in general we all connect with certain things. Our interests, our hobbies, we all share a special connection with those things. They make us happy. They make us feel something. And for me, there are only a few things that give me that sort of, again, euphoric feeling. And when it comes to music, mine is electronic music. I can be in the worst of moods. I could feel uninspired. I could feel sad, mad. And all it takes is my favorite song to come on and just take all those emotions, those feelings, and mediate them. Maybe not make them go away, because I don't think that's healthy. But it helps mediate me, and it helps me almost get back into rhythm, get back into focus whenever I feel like I'm in a rut. And I feel like when you are a fan of something, that is how it goes. Whether you're a fan of electronic music, rock music, rap music, those are how those genres make you feel. And for me, it's electronic music. And I'm not just talking about EDM, I'm talking about every genre, subgenre. I love all these subgenres of EDM, whether it's house, dubstep, future bass. You can get into literally the subgenres of house, Afro house, you have tech house, techno. And I've done so much research at this point into every aspect of EDM for, my own production purposes, but just for the love of it as well. And it's just so fascinating how deep it goes and the history of it, and I just love everything about it. No matter the subgenre, no matter the history, I love it. And I think it can be hard to explain why you love something, and I found myself over the years having a hard time explaining to people exactly what are the reasons why I love electronic music, EDM. Number one reason I love EDM, electronic music, is because of the way a lot of the genres and subgenres are able to tell a story with little to no lyrics. I think that is such a cool aspect of not just EDM, but of music in general, is how, again, it can really get into storytelling with just instruments. And again, it's not just EDM that does this, but I think, in my opinion, electronic music does it the best. And I'm glad I was able to get this out as best as I can. I'm sure I fumbled my words, and I'm sure there's things that I didn't mention, but that is why I love electronic music and will continue to love it for as long as I can think of. Again, there's no future where I can picture myself without this being what I'm doing. Again, being up on that stage, producing, I want to be a part of this community. And the rave community itself, the electronic music community itself, again, no matter the subgenre, it's just so cool and so awesome to see a group of people so connected. And do yourself a favor, if you've never been to a rave or an EDM concert, I implore you to go and just talk to people, meet them, and see why they love the genre. And I'm sure they can probably explain it a little bit better than I can. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed. And as I mentioned before, I'm hoping we can get other people on here, maybe a few of my friends and family, to start off, kind of hear about their passions and kind of know exactly why they love the things they love. If there's one thing I love, is just, again, hearing people excited about something, whatever it may be. It can be the smallest, the biggest, the most general, the most specific thing, but whatever it may be, I'd love to hear about it. And I know I've already sort of hinted at it and given a little teaser, but my newest song, I Hate the Club, is coming out very soon, and I'm very excited for you guys to hear it. But thank you again for watching.